Okay. We're leading into something, and I should say this. We want to figure this out, and we're doing it rapid speed compared to how it happened historically. People are busy taking care of business and fighting and all kinds of crazy stuff. So people wanted to know their place. What's going on? You know, you wonder. We still wonder what happens after death, etc. We want, we wish, we hope, we have stories, and that's fine. What you can do is watch this, so that we can not argue about your story versus my story. I'm right. Well, you're guessing. I mean, why push that unless you're trying to make money from other people, which they do. We watch this. This is a little bit exaggerated, how far, but it's still pretty far. I mean, on this picture, it's pretty good. You see, there's a strip of sky, and I could say a strip of stars, through which sun, moon, and planets wander. We know it's in front of the stars because, well, we read chapter 0, we cheated a little bit. So we know it's way in front of the stars. Stars are way distant. But we have these patterns as if they were painted on the ceiling, and the spinning ceiling, which we can do here in this planetarium. And it's interesting that sun, moon, and planets are only found in this strip. So no wonder people around the globe, without talking with each other, saw this strip, and they made up stories about that strip, and they wondered about those wandering dots, right? We talked about the wandering dots when we did planets. And they go through that strip, and we'll talk about that in chapter 2. We'll start breaking this down. But they thought that whatever sun was in front of, what stars a sun was in front of, was, you guys can listen to this if you want, I'm just doing one more little quick video. What stars sun was in front of somehow affected our lives, because the way they thought of sun as a god, etc. So if you think sun is a god, and that what stars it's in front of is kind of like being in different houses, then you can start to make sense of astrology. And the Babylonians 4,000 years ago, you know, people, what are you going to do? You know, they drew things, and they drew pictures, and they noticed things, and you notice carefully, you start picking up on patterns. So everybody can notice this. But then you make the leap and you say that what stars sun is in front of affects your personality. This is way before understanding genetics, right? Way before understanding cognitive science and so on. You know, and it's fine. Again, not making fun of people for their stories, but pushing stories as true when you don't know them true. That I've got a problem with. And so sun will be in front of different stars, as we said, throughout the year. Interestingly enough, we're talking Babylonians 4,000 years ago, and then 2,000 years ago, and then we got the Greeks, but there's other people too, just because we don't talk about them. And let me show you what happens, though, to Earth, because things have changed. Well, let me tell you this. You'll see it in the book. I'll let you find it. If you think you're a Leo, according to this system, now people sometimes try to play around and tweak it, but according to this system, the time that astrology says you're a Leo is supposed to be when sun was in front of Leo. However, that was true a couple thousand years ago. Now, if you were born in that period where astrology says you're a Leo, sun was actually in front of Cancer. So you should have said, they tell me I'm a Leo, but I just want to go home and have a cup of tea and knit, because I'm a Cancer. People never guess my sign. Never. So it's okay. If you got a Leo tattoo, that's cool. You like Leo. You like those traits. Fine. But sun wasn't in front of Leo unless you were born a couple thousand years ago. You think you're Cancer. Oh, you're Gemini. Gemini. But Gemini is Latin. Gemini. So generally, although you'll see, look in the book, sun was in front of the thing before what you think it was. Now there's lots and lots of tests for this. And that's what I'm interested in. If they ever test and it came out true, I'm all in. Like, oh, cool. Why? And you could bet we'd be doing that. But when you run a test, you gotta be willing to, you gotta have it set up so that there's a way to fail the test, right? And you can't just set up a test so it always wins. And so every valid test, it fails. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen ever, but you could say, I can predict whether it's heads or tails every time, and maybe you'll have a run of it. Maybe you'll have a run of it for 10. See? Keep going. We'll see how that runs out. There's the I Ching. You can throw pennies or whatever. And the first time I threw it this like ever did it. It was like all heads or all tails. I don't know what it was. It was supposed to be like this. Well, good luck. And then I stayed up all night throwing and seeing my results, and they were exactly statistical. Not exactly, because each time it can, but it built up those statistics. So what's happening, we learn about this with astrology, and numerology too is really easy. I mean, these are people, and I've got an issue with people that sometimes they believe it, and so they want to take your money, and that gives them comfort, and sometimes you give them money because you want comfort. But sometimes they know that they're making it up, and they're just trying to get money from people, and they get a lot of money from people. So I'd recommend against these sorts of things and tarot and things that you can really test. But if you speak in generalities, and often they'll speak in one statement, they'll say completely opposite things. So it's going to be right. It's going to be, there's a term for that, a psychology term for that. It's going to be right if it's vague enough. And so that's not okay. And this has been looked at very carefully. In terms of what sun is in front of, yes, it is through that strip. There's a physical reason for that. People wondered though. And why has it shifted? It's because of Earth's precession. So as Earth spins, it wobbles very slowly. Let me show you this. You can see this? See the top kind of wobbling a little bit, right? Wobbles. So it wobbles. So wow, there's that wobble. where North Pole points changes. One wobble, 26,000 years approximately. That's a lot. So every 2,000 years, you're going to go from one sign to the next. That is, sun is going to tilt your head back and forth, and something in front of you will look like it's in front of different things. So, I can't believe I did that. Woo. Okay. Whew. My astrological sign is with me today. So, believe what you want. I believe in being real, and that's called pseudoscience. It's where you pretend that science is behind it. Early observations were real, yes. But to correlate the two, I mean, that's cool. Be bold. See if it works. But it doesn't. People really identify with certain things. Truthfully, I find we have a lot of those traits in the circle, right? But also, why do you think the Native Americans, again, I say this a lot, but are ruled by the Greek, Babylonian, in Babylon, in Iraq, the Chinese, what about that, their astrology? Did you just make it up and then people are born that way? It doesn't make a lot of sense. So it can be fun, to do traits and things like that, but you gotta be open to where it fails. And flat out, if you were born when astrology says you're a Leo, sun was in front of Cancer. And the whole basis of this was that what sun is in front of determines your personality and your fate. And by the way, people born on the same day, they call something birth twins or whatever, birthday twins or something like that. There have been studies of that. Very different people. Lots of studies. So, do it yourself. You've got to be honest about it. So I'd like us to move past that into real science that saves lives. And I'd like us to connect with each other in a way that's deeper than that. We know a lot about genetics. We know a lot about cognitive science. So up to you on that one. I leave you with that, and we'll go on to see what's going on with Moon next.